Hi, I'm Nicole.
I'm Jenny.
I'm Michael.
And I'm Mir.
And our game is Lucid. We started developing the game considering the feedback that we got from the professor that we should cut down on content and focus more on creating a demo. And cutting down on how much we had planned for the game was the first step we took towards making the game and sort of figuring out what we wanted to be the focus of the game. And I'm gonna pass it off to Jenny so she could talk about some of the inspiration for the game and what really influenced the image of it.
So Nicole and I really enjoyed cyberpunk setting games, so we wanted to make a game that had that type of setting in it, but we also wanted to create a parallel, so that's why we created the dream world, so that it would be different for the player too. So we took inspiration from Valhalla and then also Ori and the Blind Forest. And a lot of the art we found online, but also Nicole made a lot of the assets that we have been using. And then so to begin our development process, we roadmapped what we would do, and so we decided what AI topics we were going to use, and then we also decided on making the dream world and the wake scene first, and then going on to make the cutscenes and stitching it all together at the end. Now I'll pass it off to Michael.
So in order to improve the player experience, we did a lot of playtesting just so we could get some feedback and see what players actually thought about our game. So one of the first things they told us was that they had no feedback from combat, so they weren't, they didn't know when they were attacking or when they were being attacked, so we added these red flashes and sound effects just to make it more intuitive. We also found out that the puzzle was a little bit too hard, it was too stressful, so the interval between them not making a positive move and then them receiving a negative message from the therapist was too short. So we increased it from 10 seconds to 15 seconds just so they could have more time to make a good move in the puzzle. We also found that our punches were a little bit too short range. So even though we made them realistic and actually stick to the fist with the collider, we found that we should make it bigger just so that the game would be a little bit more enjoyable, and that kind of just improved the overall experience for players. And now I'll pass it off to me to talk about our mythologies.
So in terms of methodologies, we treated every milestone almost like a sprint. So we got together and we made a list of things that we wanted to complete before every milestone, and we worked together to achieve that goal. So for team roles, we actually picked one part of the project to focus on, but obviously we stayed flexible to work with each other and help each other out when needed. And in addition to this, we also used GitHub as our source control management, which worked out very well because it allowed us to not really go into any conflicts. And in addition to that, we really met up in person just to ease communication, and we compared our builds to help resolve any conflicts that we did have.
All right, so let's move on to the demo. So let's get started. I'm going to skip through the dialogue so we can get to the gameplay. And the way we made these cutscenes is by sort of putting animations in between dialogue boxes. So it's actually creating the illusion of a cutscene without actually making a cutscene, but it's pretty cool how it follows a script. And here we have the dream levels. I'm avoiding these enemies because they can actually kill you if you try to engage with them. And I'm trying to just showcase their AI a bit. And as you can see, as I move far away from them, they stop chasing me. And as I come close to them, they start chasing me. And this was something we had to play with a lot because initially they would all sort of flock to spawn and hoard you there, and there wasn't really any way of advancing in the game. So here we sort of fixed that issue, and it's pretty cool because they just approach you the second you enter the scene. And let's get past all these guys. Trying not to take too much damage since I still have to fight the boss. Here we have the boss. And once we defeat him, we move into the next scene. And again, I'm gonna sort of speed through this. But this scene is meant to be sort of introductory, and the idea is that the character is trying to understand where these dreams come from, and she sees the therapist to get help with that. Just gonna rush through this again. And because this game is so visual and story based, we do have these talking sprites which change emotions based on the context. And then here we have the puzzle. And the situation of the puzzle is if you make good moves and you score, then the therapist is going to encourage you and be positive. So let's see. So here we're going to make a move, and she's giving a positive reaction. And so if I don't make any good moves for a certain amount of time, then she's going to give a negative reaction. And this was something that we actually had to play with a lot, because originally it was just if you didn't give any input, then she would get upset at you. But this time it's if you don't make any decent moves, then she gets upset at you. And this is a cool thing to do to limit the movement, because you can easily move a tile across the map to score, but doing this gives you a time limit to actually make that move, so it keeps you from doing things that are way too exaggerated. And after 5 negative lines, then the game ends and you have to start over. And that's our game.